1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome back to It's Not a Sport, Season 3, Episode 15. We got a kind of a different formula for this week's show. I'm going to try something a little bit different, spice it up a little bit. We're going to get straight into the talk of this week's show. And then if you want to listen to all the news and the esports ratings for this ahead, because I'll be doing that later. But mostly it's going to be a good talk. I'm talking about the console wars and how it's really just a big thought process because it's not what it used to be. And especially how Xbox just had their showcasing for 2020, talking about their first party games. We're going to go over that real quick because that also affects a lot. But before we get right into it, make sure to leave a like and a comment. Those always help out. Subscribe, follow me. If you want to listen to all of our past shows, are up on our YouTube channel. Follow us on our social media. It's Not a Sport to You on our Instagram. And, just leave a like and some support for the show. It's greatly appreciated. Now, anyway, let's get into the talk. First, let's talk about Xbox's press conference, what we saw from it versus Sony's, and a little bit understand what both companies are trying to accomplish within this console cycle. So Xbox press conference, it was good. I liked it. They showed off a lot, and I mean a lot. They showed off Halo Infinite. It's open world. It has a grapple hook now, and the gunplay looks smooth. People are saying it's kind of looks like Doom, but you're Master Chief now, and it really did get that Doom vibes. They showed off State of Decay 3, another Frozen game. Let's Tell Me Why, some indie games, right? Ori gets a hardware update. The Outer Worlds get some DLC. Grounded was a game. Evode was a game from Obsidian, a new on. As Dusk Falls, they showed off a little bit of Hellblade 2, or at least they talked about it. Psychonauts 2 they showed off. And then, of course, Destiny 2 coming to their Game Pass. Keep that in mind. Stalker 2. Tetris Effect, multiplayer, Connect, the Gunk, the Medium, New Genesis, Crossfire X, and then just a Fable teaser. Most of this, I would say, isn't amazing, because a lot of the stuff, personally, when they showed the press conference, I just give a brief example of it. Most of this wasn't, besides Halo, there was really no gameplay. Some gameplay trailers, but the Fable announcement was just hey, we're working on this. They didn't really show us anything in that, which leads me into kind of the first point, which is quantity over quality and exclusives. Microsoft, because they're such a big company, because they have so much money to spare, throw just cash, tons of cash at just whatever they want. And that's what they've done. They bought up all these studios like Obsidian or Rare, and they tell them, here, just make games for us. And we saw that with just all these games that they announced it from their studios, and we didn't even hear from all their first party studios. And then they're saying, it's coming from Xbox, it's coming from Xbox, and that's what we see. We saw a lot of these games announced, over 20 games in this conference. But then we move over to Sony. And Sony, when they did the press conference earlier in the year, a month ago, the big thing was, of course, the PlayStation release was looking for, and people were really, the games were addition, but people looking at the PlayStation, and they showed off the Spider-Man trailer a little bit, and then they showed off the Horizon Zero Dawn, but other than that, and then some small indie stuff, but they didn't do a lot compared to what Microsoft has. But we always know from their exclusives is that they're really high quality. It's the Spider-Man games are really well made, and Horizon Zero Dawn was really well made. You can go and listen to, because I've talked about those games before. The difference in approach and why the console war is so different now is because both companies want different things. It used to be with the PS3, right, and the PS4, or my bad, the PS3 and the Xbox 360. You had an Xbox and you were exclusive to Halo, Gears, you had those games. Or you had a PlayStation and you Uncharted, Infamous, those games. And you're so it was like I would buy the console based on really two factors: where are my friends playing, what exclusives are on those consoles. So if I have majority of my friends on Xbox playing Halo, I'm gonna get an Xbox. If I have a majority of my friends on PlayStation playing Killzone, I'm gonna get Killzone. That was the deciding factor. Now, arguably in that generation of consoles, Sony lost because they made a fatal mistake early on in pricing the PS3 at $600. No one's going to pay $600 for a console. That backfired on them and they never recovered. So came out and the Xbox One was renounced. Vice versa happened, where Xbox was going into this and they failed. And the Xbox had a terrible launch. PlayStation did. PlayStation success with their studios and their games, and it went up, and now PlayStation won this current or previous generation. Xbox has fired back and they changed their business model. They're like, we have the money, technology, and we're no longer gonna challenge Sony at this game. Okay. And the console generation has always been, it's like cheering for your favorite sports team. You just talk smack to one another, and there's always far. But Xbox now, and what they want to do is push their Game Pass subscriptions. They want to push their cloud subscriptions. Their model now is it doesn't matter which machine you play on, as long as games, which is why we see a lot of these games, like there's no exclusives on Xbox anymore, because a lot of them come to Steam and come to the PC and come to Windows 10. That's their business model. And Game Pass has only grown since then. We've seen that the Game Pass has now 10 million subscribers on it. It's helped indie developers a lot, apparently, and it's doing a lot of good for gaming. Because why wouldn't Xbox want? Why, spend $60 and, try and get that $60 and they take 30%, where they could have a subscription service that just pumps out those games immediately, and then you can get it anywhere with the xCloud. You can do it on your phone now or whatever, or whether you're on your PC, your laptop, or your Xbox. It doesn't matter which machine you're doing. So they're trying to reach a broader audience and really push their Game Pass. It's an entirely different model. Their games aren't exclusive anymore. I don't have to buy an Xbox. Halo Master Chief Collection is now on PC. Same with Halo Infinite, probably going to come to PC. It's that. And of course, both companies are going to push their machines to a degree. Say like, oh, you can run it at 120 hertz and 60 FPS. That's just a given. That's just to get the console people off. But PC's been dealing with that for forever. It's but the business model itself has changed. If you're playing Xbox now, you don't care about the machines, and those first party games. And it's very interesting because Last of Us Part 2 isn't made to sell The Last of Us Part 2. It's made to sell PS4s. So it's a very model now that Xbox is trying to tackle this, and they can do that because, one, they have money. They have so much money that they can throw at this. The rumor right now why we don't have price points for the PS5 or the Xbox Series, because Microsoft just has the money to undercut them. They have the resources. We can see it with them buying up these studios. They have like 20 studios under their belt compared to Sony's like 5. So it's really a big move by Microsoft in this direction, because it's an entirely different direction to see where it's going to go. And I'm actually interested as a gamer to see how this Game Pass progresses. Will gamers subscribe to the Game Pass? Will they spend that to be able to play Cyberpunk on day one on either their Xbox or their PlayStation. Is that where the future of gaming is headed, and at least console gaming? Because we kind of see that an attempt by that with Google Stadia. They failed because I think they just have bad management there, really, and it was just kind of a pet project for them. But how far is Microsoft and Xbox willing to go with the Xbox Game service, leaving the machine and hardware behind and really doubling down on it's not about what device you play on, but what games you are playing? I'm really interested to see how over the next few years, because that's kind of the future. That's where things are headed. Mobile gaming is really big now. If we can get those console games on our phone, then it changes up everything, whether it's the cloud service or anything like that. Getting more accessibility changes everything in the long run. Now, that's Microsoft's stand on it, and that's Xbox stand on it. Let's move over to Sony's stand on it, which is completely different. Sony, they're doing what works for them, which is, they make their games, they make really good games, AAA games, big AAA games like Ghost of Tsushima, or Last of Us, and et cetera. They make these really big games, and they just sell their consoles. It's this kind of same as Nintendo. Like what really sold the Switch? The Switch, I talked about before, device. It is incredible device. But what sells the Switch isn't like to buy the Switch. What sold it is Animal Crossing. What sold it was Breath of the Wild. People wanted Switches so they could play. Those games were made to sell Switches, and it's the same thing with Sony. Last of Us was made to sell PS5s, PS4s, and that's what they doubled down on. And they've had a very successful year doing this, and just doing this strategy of just exclusives, which is why me as a gamer right now, I just build a PC so I can play all the Xbox games, and have a PlayStation so I can play all the console games that come out exclusively for them. But that's just how things are working now, and it's a very short-term plan, I feel like, compared to Microsoft's for Sony. But then again, Sony doesn't have the firepower that Microsoft does. At the end of the day, where I think all of this will be ending up at the end of the day is that when the bigger tech companies, and we saw it kind of earlier in the year, when Google was pushing Stadia and they were moving into pushing the gaming market, with Amazon pushing their MOBA game and their recently kind of failed battle game, and Amazon trying to push into the gaming market. We see that Xbox and Sony teaming up. At the end of the day, we're probably just gonna get one console to team up, because those guys are new competitors. When right now it's a trinity, with Nintendo being down here, and that if adds a couple more points to it, it changes and it saturates the market. It's one of the biggest issues that the PC kind of has right now, with all these different stores, and with Epic Games, Uplay, or it's same thing PC has. And we saw that when Google tried to push this cloud service, Sony doesn't have a cloud service, or Sony has the hardware and Microsoft software. So what they did was they started to team up to try and get their own cloud-based service to fight Google. And that's probably, at the end of the day, in the real long run, that's where the future is headed. The console war as we knew is over. It's not about, both companies have different agendas now, incredibly different agendas. And now it's about, can this strategy work for us as a company in the old strategy? And at the end of the day, as more of these big conglomerates like Google, like Amazon, come into the market, I think what we're going to see is a team up of technology, because there's already a team up of technology. For example, like the camera in iPhones is just a Sony camera. So like we're just gonna see more team ups and more collabs in order to make business more fluid and make business work. All right, I hope you enjoyed the talk of this week's show. It was, something fun to do. I really enjoyed doing it, and I hope this week's formula also being switching up a little bit. You guys a lot more, and that way you come into the show definitely learning something, and then we can get into the small news bits and esports stuff like we usually do that we're going to do right about now. Starting as always with the LPA and League of Legends League, we have JD Gaming in first, Invictus in second, Top Esports third, followed by Sunning, Victory 5, Team WE, LGD Gaming are all tied for fifth. Plus is eighth, Vinci is ninth, Royals Never Give Up is 10th, Edward Gaming, Billy B Gaming, and Rogue Warriors are all 11th. E-Star and Oh My God are tied for 14th, and LNG are 16th and 17th. In LCK, we have Dragon X in first place, followed by Damwon Gaming in second, then Genji, T1 in fourth, Afrika Freaks in sixth is tied with Sandbox Gaming and KT Roster. In eighth, we have Team Dynamics, ninth, Hanwha Life, and then 10th is Solhan One Prince. In Europe, which is LEC, we have Rogue and tied for first, followed by SK and Fnatic tied for third. We have Origins, XL, and G2 tied for fifth, Misfits and Team Vitality tied for eighth, and Skalak 04 and Deadlab. In North America, LCS, we have Cloud9 and Team Liquid tied for first, TSM in third, FlyQuest in fourth, Evil Geniuses in fifth, Golden Guardians. Seventh is Counterlogic Gaming with 100 Thieves also at seventh. Dignitas is ninth, and Immortals is dead last. Moving on to the Overwatch League now, we have in first, followed by San Francisco. We followed by Philadelphia and then San Francisco in third, Guangzhou in fourth, Paris in fifth, New York Excelsior in sixth, Florida in seventh, Atlanta in eighth, Los Angeles Valence in 10th, Hangzhou Spark is in 10th, Los Angeles is ninth. Excuse me, I'm really messing this up. A lot of teams as always. Seoul Dynasty is 11th, then Los Angeles Gladiators, Fusion, Toronto, Chengdu Hunters, London, Houston, Vancouver, Washington, and Boston is in last place. In terms of games releases, we have nothing huge coming out this week. Found It is coming out, Made in the Sky, Pistol Whip, Samurai Showdown, Neo Geo Collection, Skater XL, Hellpoint, Yakuza, a new Yakuza game comes out on the Xbox One. That's probably the next big release, and then a bunch of other smaller games until we move into August. Now, we went over previously in our talk very briefly about the Xbox games showcase that they July 23rd, a couple of days ago, we were talking about first party Xbox games, and we're just going to go over those again, just for people who missed them, and the thoughts of my thoughts on them. They opened it up with Halo Infinite game. I think, I talked to my friends about this, and I think it's the right direction for Halo. It's, free open world. It's something that Halo has never really tackled before, but makes sense. I think they took inspiration from Doom. It really looks like there's a lot of inspiration from Doom in there. So seeing this be made, seeing this come out is very exciting because I think it's the right industry, and I hope it is successful after the last Halo game was such a down. Then we have some world premieres. We have As Dusk Falls from Interior/Night. As Dusk Falls is an original interactive drama from Interior Night. So it's an interactive game. I believe it's going to be released in. It looked, not my cup of tea. I didn't really get into those interactive games. Like, besides the only ones that I really play are like the ones that like Heavy Rain and that kind of series. But like games like couldn't really get into, and this is what that seems to be. So it's cool that they're coming out with that. It's just cool to see games. As always, we have a Vowed, which is Obsidian's Entertainment's next epic first-person RPG world. Like, just even looking at this on the website, it don't get your hopes up for this game. It is extremely like pre-concept phase. Like, it's something that they want to work on. They probably haven't reached their vertical slice yet. It's very probably in the prototypey phase where they have a concept of what they want the game to be, but no real gameplay or anything like that. And it's just from the trailer and the announcement. The Spider-Man update where it's just, to let people know that they're working on this, and this is something that is coming out in the near future, 3 or 2 years down the line. So it's, and it's Obsidian. I really do think they make really, Fallout New Vegas is considered one of the best Fallouts, and it's the only one Fallout that's made by them and not like Bethesda. And then the Outer Worlds did really good as well. So I'm happy to see that they're working on new projects, but even just like this is just a website, it's very vague right now on what it actually is going to be. At the end of the show, they talked about Fable, and Fable's been leaked a couple times now. Just some leaks saying that, hey, we're a Fable game, and there's like Microsoft really tried to hide it. Like its Twitter account was discovered and all that. And this also looks super concept-y too, like super early. That they didn't show any gameplay of it. It was just like a cool little. A Fable is a new beginning for a legendary franchise. Explore a land of fantasy creatures and wondrous places, developed by Playground Games for Xbox Series X and Windows 2. Of course, as we talked about the last talk, the Xbox Game Pass. So it's just something. It's a new. Something that people have been wanting and something that people get. Kind of like their God of War, you could say, in terms of announcements of like Sony. And you thought it was cool. We never thought we'd get another one, and here we go, another Fable, just to push. This is probably going to be like just to push the console a little bit more. So it's nice to see that. Another Frozen Motorsports games. I'm not going to talk about this. These are kind of standard. They're for the Xboxes, you can say. They're standard when it comes out with the consoles, so that's cool. The Gunk by Thunderful Publishing seemed kind of interesting. What got me was like the main character color, which is very interesting because you don't see that often. And I wonder if that was a choice that was made pre-rioting in George Floyd's death coming to light or before. But it's a cool little indie game that come out that puzzles. Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis, a Sega game coming out in 2021. It's a Japanese hack cutters slicer, something cool to come out, something to look forward to. Stalker 2 was announced from the original Stalker, and it's coming to Xbox Series X. So that's really cool that they announced that, and that will be coming out. They also announced State of Decay 3. I think we kind of already knew about this, but the next State will also be coming out by Undead Labs. Tetris Effect Connect will be coming out this holiday 2020. So it's Tetris Effect, which is a great game, and they're basically adding co-op and multiplayer competitive online to Tetris Effect. So look forward to that, because Tetris Effect is brought Tetris to the cooler stage, Warhammer Dark Tides, they showed off like a little gameplay cinematic trailer of this. Again, seems very early in development. Take it with a grain of salt. 2021, it seems. It is a game that you will play against friends, a hordes of enemies. It's a 4-player co-op game, something just to look forward to. Updates on highly anticipated games. They showed off like Crossfire X, PC franchise, and that will be, they showed off some gameplay of that. They talked about Destiny 2 and the new kind of version that's coming out beyond Light. They're trying to get this to the Game Pass, on the Ultra Game Pass, to be able to play it on your phone. So they're just pushing, Bungie has to do this because now they're publishing their own game. So if Destiny 2 fails at any point, Bungie goes under because they don't have Activision to support them anymore. So moves like this from Bungie and Destiny 2 to try to partner up with Sony or try to partner up with Steam as much as they can to push Destiny 2. But that, cool. If you like Destiny 2, that's cool. Everwild from Rare, that will be coming out. Grounded, it's a game from Obsidian that comes out, we just talked about that comes out very soon. It looks cool. You're like a bug dude, or a tiny dude in a very big, fighting bugs and world. Like, it gets shrinked, so that's cool. The Medium is like a horror game. This game looks interesting. It's a puzzle because it says dual realities, and it's like, is it trying to do a co-op experience, or is it like you switch between realities? So I'm really interested to see how gameplay and game design narrative do they conquer that. And then we have the Outer Worlds, Pearl of Gorgon, some DLC. Comes out September 9th, 2020, so this year, relatively soon. Psychonauts 2, they showed off like a little trailer. Psychonauts 2 with Jack Black singing a song. It was, it was cool. And then Tell Me Why comes out August 27th. Another emotional game. This is actually the type of, the people who made this are from the Life is Strange franchise, so they're very similar. And then we had some Summer Game Fest reveals, which is Balan Wonderworld from Square, Dragon X from Square, Echo Generation, Neighbor 2, Watch Dogs Legions from Ubisoft. I mean, most of the stuff they kind of talked about before. They also kind of talked about in the show, like very vaguely, optimization for a lot of these games and the games moving forward, like Gears Tactics, Gears 5, Forza Horizon 4, Sea of Thieves optimization moving into Xbox. So just some cool stuff for Xbox. We talked about it, so that's more in depth on actually and not really their business plan and business model. Let's move on real quick to Sony's #1 hitting game right now, which is Ghost of Tsushima, which has hit the stores tremendously and hit hard. Patch recently too, adding a new level of difficulty and lowering intensity combat. And then it has also been announced by Sony and PlayStation Twitter account that Ghost of Tsushima is now PS4's fastest selling first party original IP, on more than 2.4 million units sold through globally in the first 3 days of its sales. It did really well in Japan. Apparently it's doing really well here. I'm really happy to see this because this is what Sony's good at. This is what they should be promoting. Terrible, or not terrible, debatable Last of Us, because they put so much. One thing that I've been discussing with my friends, which is really interesting, is they put so much marketing into The Last of Us Part 2. Like, it's got his trailer and all the different cutscenes and trailers that they did for Last of Us. That was going to be their game for this year, baby, and no marketing to Ghost of Tsushima at all. And then it comes out, Last of Us gets very debatable responses. It kind of flops. Why? It's just been hitting it off. So it's very interesting, just like that's happening, and that's the Sony's takes on it, because I'm really happy to see Ghost of Tsushima. I wish I didn't spoil it on me. I kind of slept on it, and I'm regretting that now. So now we're going to move on to talk about Valorant real quick, Riot's first-person party. So, like, the first part or season of the game, Act 1, is ending, and then they're going into Act 2. They released an article just talking about rank changes, and they're just going to change up rank a little bit. I actually do want to do a follow Valorant because it was very hyped, and now that we've seen it come out, I've read interesting and seen interesting responses to the game. So just if you're a Valorant fan, and just to let you know that it's ending and they're doing some rank changes. So we're gonna get on to some more. So take all of this with a grain of salt before we end. The first one is Persona 5 Scramble. will be have a Western release soon, so that's nice. You know, these are kind of like knockoff Persona games that they actually made by Atlas, but it's cool that like whenever, because I just love the Persona franchise in general, so more of it is welcomed, and that I'll be getting a Western release is cool just to like listen to those sweet ass new tracks. Then we have some talks of, if you don't know, this has been kind of a known news for a while, that Nintendo, for Mario's, I believe, 24th anniversary, they've been wanting to rehash old Mario games. One of them being Mario 6. So a lot of leaks have come out, and I do want to take these as rumors because they're leaks, but they're rumored leaks, and this stuff is like, and especially with Nintendo, I don't want to jump to conclusion until you see it. But if they're true, it's gonna be fucking awesome. So out was a lot of N64 stuff that they're porting over. So Super Mario 64 Luigi, Mario Kart 64, Star Fox 64. My biggest is Ocarina of Time, which I feel like is already like one. And these leaks, you know, I just want to mention them just to, you know, because they're fun and they're hype and just to hype things up. But one thing that Nintendo did have on the Wii U was a virtual console. Now, like, the problem with Nintendo is that they have some older games, but the only way you're going to play those, because they won't put them on PC for some reason. And you see Square doing this. Square like has a lot of great older games, and they've been like porting them to mobile or porting them to PC, so people don't have to emulate them. No, the only way to do it is emulate them illegally. And they used to have a virtual console on the Wii, on the Wii U, where you could buy these games and they play them virtually. Because right now, these games aren't the powerhouses that they are today. They're not. Machines can run these games pretty fucking easily. So the hard part is getting that old code and the old engines and all of that, the stuff that doesn't work, and making it work on modern day machines. So them trying to do this is, and they already have virtual consoles on the Switch. You pay for it when you get the $20 to play online for Smash or whatever. You get those virtual consoles, and that's how I originally played the second Zelda game and like some old time, because those virtual consoles are on the Switch. They're already set up, they're already in place. So if we do get these ports coming over to the virtual console on the Switch, it would be fantastic, and I'd love to see it, because these are some games that my time that I would personally love to play, and I know that there are games that people who did play them want to play them again. Anyway, that's going to conclude this week's show of It's Not a Sport. I hope you make sure to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe or follow. It really helps me out. It really makes me motivated that I can keep on doing what I'm doing. And the feedback also helps as long. If you have like talks that you want me to talk about or just questions, drop a comment and I will do my best to always respond or answer them, or just cover it in the next show. You know, it's always a good talk. Other than that, follow us on our social media, Instagram, It's Not a Sport to You. Check out our website, It's Not a Sport. All of our past shows are up on our YouTube channel, so you can listen to season 1 and season 2 up on there. We also have, each show goes up each week, generally on Mondays, on our Google Play and SoundCloud, and of course on our YouTube as well. On YouTube, you can actually watch the VOD of me talking, and I show on the screen what I'm talking about. So make sure to check us out. Stay tuned to next week's show. As always, this is your host, Salty Waffles, signing off, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful climb.